Hello? All right. Hello, good afternoon, everybody. All right, it's exciting to be here at the 2024 Ghana IGF. My name is Kweku Entry, and I'll be emceeing this session. That's the opening ceremony. And we are glad to have a number of dignitaries with us. And just to remind us, the theme for this year's IGF 2024 is Empowering Sustainable Development for Our Digital Future. So far, we've been having a number of discussions, and we are glad to have this opening ceremony. And without much ado, I don't know if Ania, is Ania online from the IGF, UN IGF Secretariat? Is Ania online? Okay, so we will take opening remarks from Ania Gengo from the UN IGF Secretariat in Geneva. Hi, Ania, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you clearly. Please, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. I have to apologize. I will put my video on, but I am outside, and I did communicate with the organizer and sent a backup video. But let me also say a few words, please, also online. First of all, it's a great pleasure to join you today on this very important occasion. And on behalf of the IGF Secretariat, I would like to sincerely thank you for inviting us. But most of all, I would like to thank the multi-stakeholder organizing committee, the Secretariat, and of course the community for putting all the efforts in order for this day to happen. This is an important topic that you are discussing. Sustainable development, as you know, is at the heart of the UN's work. The 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development is something that the UN and with that the member states and the people very much focused on for years. Unfortunately, the recent reports do speak that we are behind the objectives set in terms of achieving the SDGs. At the same time, the digital technologies are a proven accelerator of sustainable development that has been recognized through the discussion of various stakeholders at the IGF, as well as by the United Nations, the Secretariat. If you look at the recent developments, such as for example, our common agenda of the Secretary General, it does speak and recognize this fact, ensuring that all people indeed are working for, first of all, the internet that is accessible, affordable, safe, secure, and as such resilient, available to us, because that's the only key to achieve progress in sustainable development. If every single person, every stakeholder on the planet has access, meaningful access to the internet, in order for all of us to benefit from the power of digital technologies. It is a very important agenda, as I said, that you are discussing, not just for your respective community, but really for the world itself. And you can see around us that the momentum is critical. We are now at the momentum where the Global Digital Compact is soon to be negotiated and hopefully adopted by the member states, which will hopefully bring us good values and good guidance to ensure that digital technologies related environments are indeed governed through the values and principles that we are all believing in, which is a multi-stakeholder model, open, inclusive, bottom-up, and transparent process. In addition to the Global Digital Compact, as you probably know, we are now starting active preparations for the World Summit of the Information Society. We are approaching next year the 20th anniversary to very important milestone, because it will allow us to reflect on the 2 decades that this community has been working hard to make this really revolutionary change, which is to bring the multi-stakeholder model to the concept of the United Nations, and further, thanks to the more than 170 national, regional, sub-regional, and youth IGFs, to bring it to various corners of the world. And I think we are very fortunate to have, like you, Ghana IGF, Youth Ghana IGF that hosted a wonderful meeting yesterday. Also other communities who are working at the national and regional levels to ensure that the multi-stakeholder model is indeed applied and the VISIS vision is a reality for so many people around the world. Certainly the next year will also be for us an opportunity to think what we want to do long term in terms of internet governance, especially because digital technologies really are integrated in our lives. They are now part of our daily life, and they are not just pieces of technology that is available to exclusive communities. And that is indeed good because it's making a huge change for well-being of all people. And of course, the one last opportunity that I would like to mention, which is coming our way basically in a couple of weeks, couple of months in December, that is the 19th annual meeting of the IGF. This year's IGF is hosted by the government of Saudi Arabia in Riyadh from 15th to 19th of December. It is hosted under the overarching theme, Building our Multi-Stakeholder Digital Future, and is expected to gather thousands of stakeholders from various backgrounds, various countries, regions, to come and discuss issues that they see as a priority. If you look at the IGF website, you will then see the draft agenda that really speaks to the fact that it's very robust, very diverse, which also speaks to the fact that the internet governance landscape is becoming very complex and really requires attention of all of us in order for us to come up with a framework that really guarantees good internet governance. With that, I hope that many of you will indeed join us in Riyadh. If not possible in Riyadh, then I hope that many of you will be, of course, participating online. I have to admit as well that Ghana IGF and Ghana IGF community are particularly recognizable in the global internet governance ecosystem because you are now traditionally hosting remote hubs from your country, from various cities in your country, which speaks to the fact that you really have a clear vision and commitment to digital governance. And I have to say to the IGF as well, we are very thankful to that. With that, once again, thank you so much for inviting the IGF Secretariat, and I wish you excellent deliberations in the hours to come, and looking forward to your output. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Anya. Thank you so much. Okay. So, as I mentioned, we have a number of dignitaries who will be addressing us today in this opening ceremony. Up next is from the IGF Support Association, and this is in the person of the chair, Amrita Chowdhury. Amrita, are you online? Okay. Thank you. Thank you, tech team. So the next person who will be speaking is Lily Ednam-Botwe, who is the Ghana Youth IGF coordinator. Is Lily online? Okay. Lily. Can you hear us?
Hi, everyone. Yes, I can hear you. And okay. For all of the speakers online, it's we kind of mute ourselves until somebody does. So for Amrita, who's supposed to go before me, she had the same challenge in the chat. And this by way of a heads up. So hi, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where in the world you are joining in from. And I'm so excited about the conversation that have gone ahead of us today. And many of them are alluding to the fact that the young people have to come to the forefront to be people leading or charting courses in this space where we are able to pretty much lead a race for what you know as digital changes and transformation. So distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I'm honored to report the youth views intersecting with today's theme, which is a theme of empowering sustainable development for a digital future. This theme highlights the critical role the digital technology plays in shaping the sustainable development of our society. However, As we build this future, it's essential that we also include the voices and contributions of our youth. And the youth is all of us here in the room yesterday who also came to discuss things that were pertinent issues for us and for the country that we know as Ghana. So just yesterday, during the Ghana Youth Internet Governance Forum, we explored navigating the digital world, empowering youth through meaningful connectivity for responsible AI use and online safety. In an era where digital technologies and AI are transforming every aspect of our lives, we focused on the importance of ensuring that young people are not just passive users, but active contributors and are leading in this digital landscape. So, in this rapidly evolving digital age, youth are at the forefront of both opportunities and challenges presented by increased internet access and AI. However, meaningful connectivity goes beyond mere access. It requires equipping young people with knowledge and skills to navigate these technologies responsibly while protecting their privacy and security, and sometimes a risky online world or online digital landscape as we know it. So, from our event yesterday, we highlighted three key areas which I'll be bringing to everyone's notice. The first point was about empowering digital innovators, and what we talked about was to ensure the role of young people as innovators in the tech space, moving us from just consumers to also people who are developing in the space. And we highlighted the need for ethical AI use and inclusive digital design. We also asked that we empower you to create solutions that address local and global challenges. The second thing we also discussed was building digital resilience, and also along our lines of the critical topic where we see that there are regulatory frameworks, but a need to have them updated. So we spoke about that to ensure that there is the online safety that young people enjoy, especially regarding AI and digital platforms and how they evolve. So we also emphasize the importance of individual responsibility and safeguarding our data, and the need for collaboration with institutions like the cybersecurity authorities to create a safer online environment. One of our last key points was the issue of addressing digital inequality. And of late, we've seen the topic of internet data tariffs online and the high pricing. So we also stress the persistent digital divide, especially between urban and rural areas where high internet data tariff limit meaningful connectivity. And so to fully empower our youth, we must bridge this gap and provide affordable, reliable internet access to all, ensuring that no young person is left behind in the digital age. I'm going to conclude by saying that as we gather here today under the broader theme of sustainable development, it is essential to continue the conversations that started with our youth event yesterday. And our young people, as we know it, are not just the future, we are the present. And our engagement, insight, and contribution are vital as we work towards harnessing the potential of digital technologies for sustainable development. Thank you, and I hope you have a good rest of your day discussing issues that benefit us all. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lily, and thank you so much, Ghana Youth IGF, for that mini report on what happened in the Ghana Youth IGF yesterday. So I hear Amrita from the IGF Support Association is online. Amrita, can you hear me?
Yes, thank you. I hope I'm audible and visible to all of you.
Yes, you are. Thank you. Please go ahead.
And thank you initially to the organizers for inviting me to speak at the 2024 Ghana International Internet Governance Forum. And I'm speaking on behalf of the IGF Support Association, and we are very glad to support this initiative. And for those who do not know what IGF Support Association is, it's our objective to support the global IGF as well as national and regional IGFs, especially from Global South, and to strengthen the multi-stakeholder internet governance dialogue and the model. And if you don't know much about us, please visit our website. Wisdom is there in the room, who is one of our EC members. Find out more about us, what we do, and we encourage you also to become a member or even spread the word about us. The theme which you have chosen this year of empowering sustainable development for our digital future, in my opinion, is very pertinent and timely. Anya did speak a lot about it, so I will not repeat. But what I would like to say is that since internet has become an integral part of our lives, therefore there is a need to discuss that the internet we use and the policies around it should be shaped in a way we want in an equitable way where there is trust, where there is safety, there is privacy, and our rights are protected, as well as the state's security aspects are taken into consideration. And it should not be only the global north deciding what we do. So these discussions are extremely important. I was listening to the discussions earlier on countering mis and disinformation, and even fostering the global digital equity, and what Ghana has been doing to address these gaps and to digitize and in the road to digitization, and looking at the other aspects also. And they were very rich and informative, and looking at the program and the range of topics which are expected to be discussed, such as protecting children and women online or internet security. I think these are very important discussions. And I'm hoping, like the Youth IGF shared their summaries, the outcomes of these deliberations will feed into the global IGF. Because your voices are important, and therefore we hope that you keep contributing your perspectives and making a difference, because internet is used by everyone, people from all across the world. Our issues sometimes are similar, sometimes are dissimilar, depending upon the place we come from, etc. And we need to raise those issues so that a nuanced internet governance policy and other discussions could happen. So I would end it here. And thank you so much for having me, and all the best with all the deliberations. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Amrita. Thank you so much. All right. So the next person to speak is from the National Communications Authority. That's in the person of the Deputy Director General in charge of technical operations, Professor Ezer Osei Yeboah Boateng, please.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Thank you. Good afternoon once again. So just a brief remarks on behalf of the Director General, Dr. Joe Anochie of the NCA. The Honorable Minister for Communications and Digitalization and MP for Ablekuma West, Mrs. Ursula Owusu-Ekufo, herein being deputized by the Honorable Deputy Minister for Communications and Digitalization and MP for Asamankese, Mr. Charles Echampong. Reverend Dr. Nanaya Owusu-Prempeh, Board Chair, Ghana Domain Name Registry. Executive Director, Ghana Domain Name Registry, Mr. Nana Kofi Asafo-Addo. Distinguished invited guests, all other protocols observed. Ladies and gentlemen, I am truly honored to stand before you today at the 2024 Ghana Internet Governance Forum. The National Communications Authority, NCA, is thrilled to be an integral part of this pivotal gathering that is instrumental in shaping the future of the Internet in our beloved country and beyond. I extend my heartfelt gratitude to the Ghana Domain Name Registry, GNDR, and the Internet Society Ghana Chapter, ISOC-GH, for their instrumental role in making this forum a reality. This year's theme, Empowering Sustainable Development for Our Digital Future, stands as a testament to the strides we've made and also serves as a powerful reminder of the path that still lies ahead. It embodies our unwavering collective commitment to sculpting the digital landscape of Ghana. In a time of unprecedented technological advancement, integrating technology into education is crucial for promoting sustainable development. Our world faces complex challenges that require innovative strategies for improvement and resolution. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the National Communications Authority, NCA, has had the privilege of leading transformative efforts and has taken significant steps in advancing Ghana's digital infrastructure. In March 2024, the NCA, acting on a directive from the Ministry of Communications and Digitalization, MOCD, issued a wholesale electronic communications infrastructure telecommunications license to NextGen Infraco, a career-neutral open access company for the deployment of 5G and 4G services. This decision was summarized by a quote from the Minister for Communications and Digitalization, Honorable Mrs. Ursula Ekufo, and I quote, "The creation of a shared 5G mobile broadband infrastructure is critical for delivering affordable, high-speed data access to the people of Ghana and help achieve our digital Ghana vision. The creation of NGIC as a neutral, shared platform accessible to all mobile network operators and tower companies will help to expand 5G services rapidly across the country. We are inspired by India's digital infrastructure and low-cost mobile data usage and keen to replicate it in Ghana," unquote. The recent implementation of ECOWAS roaming with Cote d'Ivoire, with testing ongoing in Togo and Benin, allows mobile phone users to utilize their services without incurring additional charges when traveling within ECOWAS member states. Furthermore, the NCA has introduced technology neutrality to promote consumer choice in the telecommunications sector and encourage investment in 4G networks. In line with our commitment to fostering diversity and inclusion, the NCA continues to support initiatives such as the Girls in ICT program, aimed at addressing the gender gap in technology and empowering young women to actively participate in the digital economy. These strategic efforts reflect our dedication to enhancing regional integration, reducing communication costs, and fostering connectivity across ECOWAS countries. Ladies and gentlemen, on March 14, 2024, Ghana experienced a major disruption in mobile and fixed data services due to multiple submarine cable outages. This emphasized the urgent need for resilience and reliability in our digital infrastructure. The NCA's action dating back to 2020 were crucial in preventing a complete internet outage during the submarine cable disruptions. The NCA proactively engaged and directed MNOs to establish and maintain physical cable connections to at least 3 submarine cable operators for redundancy and resilience. Since then, the NCA has licensed a 5th cable landing operator in Ghana, Baobab, operator of the 2 Africa cable, with a design capacity of 180 terabytes per second, which is about 4 times the combined design capacity of the existing cables. This service is expected to be operational by the 4th quarter of 2024 or probably sooner. Ladies and gentlemen, the NCA has expanded its satellite licensing portfolio to include new satellite broadband services. This is aimed at offering additional connectivity options for both household and business users. the authority wants to assure the public that it remains committed to its mandate. It continues to collaborate with regulators and industry players in the sub-region to promote the expansion of inter-country terrestrial fiber networks, which will enhance reliability of our internet connectivity. The Digital Ghana report shows that as of the beginning of 2024, 69.8% of Ghana's population has access to the internet, with about 24.04 million internet users in the population of roughly 30 million people. This highlights the significant reliance on internet services in the daily lives of Ghanaians. The events of March 14 further emphasize the internet's critical role in supporting economic, security, and social activities at global, national, and local levels. Any major internet outage in the near future could have a substantial impact on the economy's smooth operation. These facts indicate that to build a strong digital future, a comprehensive approach is essential. The widespread use of the internet and data across all sectors of the economy requires a multi-stakeholder strategy for development and resilience. Ladies and gentlemen, as I conclude my remarks, I want to emphasize the importance of embracing the intersection of technological advancement and sustainable development. It is crucial that we seize this opportunity to shape a digital future that benefits everyone. Empowering sustainable development in our digital landscape is not just a goal. It is essential for ensuring that the progress we achieve today will benefit future generations. We must commit to implementing policies, practices, and partnerships that drive innovation while protecting our environment and promoting inclusivity. Together, we can create a digital future that is not only technologically advanced, but also equitable, sustainable, and resilient for all. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. Thank you so much, NCA, Professor. Thank you. So next person on the speaking slot is the Executive Director for GDNR and also part of the steering committee for the IGF, Nana Kofi Asafo-Addo.
Thank you very much, Kweku. Honorable Minister for Communications, deputized by the Honorable Deputy Minister for Communications, Honorable Charles Achampon, MP for Lower West, Akim constituency, honorable members of Parliament, the GDNR board chair and board members, heads of agencies, the President, ISOC, Ghana chapter, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. It is my great honor as the chair of the Ghana IGF Steering Committee to address you today at a 2024 Ghana Internet Governance Forum. I send my warmest greetings to all present and virtual participants. This year's Ghana IGF follows in the tradition of recent IGFs, which have been made up of the main IGF, the youth IGF, and the School of Internet Governance. Under the theme, Empowering Sustainable Development for Our Digital Future, the Ghana Domain Name Registry, in collaboration with ISOC Ghana Chapter, has convened the IGF with the aim of continuing the multi-stakeholder engagement on internet governance in Ghana. Ladies and gentlemen, the concept of the IGF was started 20 years ago at a World Summit on the Information Society in Tunis, when the UN recognized that there was a need for a multi-stakeholder platform to discuss public policy issues related to the internet. The UN then established a forum providing an open, inclusive space for dialogue. Following on from this year, 2024, the UN has released a second revision of a document called the Global Digital Compact. This document is aimed at expressing the UN's vision of an ideal digital future, which emphasizes the need for closing the digital divide, including all people, and emphasizing security, safety, and human rights in the use of this open technology. Since its inception, the IGF has been key in shaping the global conversation on critical issues and has brought governments, civil society, the private sector, and the technical community together to navigate the challenges and opportunities presented by the digital world. However, there's a lot of work still left to be done. In this journey of accelerated digital change, a journey that started as a US government project in the late 1960s and received a catalytic boost in 1989 when Tim Berners-Lee created the World Wide Web and associated technologies. And because he gave away this absolutely world-changing invention for free, we are all able to stand here today and build upon it. In Ghana, the impact of this technology would not have been that far-reaching without the incessant work of the Ministry of Communications and Digitalization under the able leadership of the Honorable Ursula Owusu-Ekufo, who has worked tirelessly to bring meaningful connectivity to Ghanaians. Among others, a lot of work has been done to bring 5G technology, national roaming, rural telephony, and equipping our people with the skills needed to thrive in the digital economy. Ladies and gentlemen, the domain name space of Ghana is key to the digital economy. And as the executive director of the Ghana Domain Name Registry, I know that the ministry has put in a lot of work towards the operationalization of the Ghana Domain Name Registry after the ETA was passed in 2008, mandating the GDNR to manage and administer the .gh domain. As it stands, the GDNR does not currently manage the registry, but it is in ongoing negotiations with the necessary organizations before the full mandate can be met. In the meantime, the GDNR has played a significant role in stoking the fires of multi-stakeholderism and engaging through several events, such as this IGF, the DNS Forum, and the building of the local internet community, as well as several other multi-stakeholder activities aimed at not excluding anyone who is interested in the development of the internet in Ghana. All this work and contributions from other sectors has led to increased internet usage in Ghana. Latest numbers indicate that there are 24 million online users in Ghana currently, and the numbers are rising. We now find ourselves at a point in the world in this technological journey where the rapid growth of technologies that are able to replicate the creative and cognitive capabilities of the human mind are reshaping our world in profound ways. Innovations like quantum computing and synergies between existing technologies foretell of a more exciting technological future. And though they offer immense potential, they are not without challenges and dangers. Issues such as data privacy, security, algorithm bias, and the ethical implications of the use of these technologies are just a few of the complex topics that we must grapple with as we move forward. As such, it is very important that we continuously have these conversations in order to be proactive in using the technologies effectively and safely. Before I conclude, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to thank some of our key sponsors and supporters who have sustained this forum thus far. Definitely, the Ministry of Communications and Digitalization has been instrumental. The NCA, especially Dr. Joe Anochi, under whose leadership the NCA has thrived, and I'm glad Prof. Isa is here. The NCA has, over the years, been tremendous in being a supporter of multi-stakeholder discussions and the development of the internet in Ghana. I also have to thank the IGF Secretariat, Anya Jengo, who I think spoke at the first IGF that I was at in 2019, and she spoke today as well. She used to be with the IGF SA, but now with the IGF Secretariat in Geneva. And also the Ghana IGF Steering Committee and supporting cast. Please, Kweku, if you are here, IGF Steering Committee, please stand up and let's appreciate the work you've done to put this whole thing together. IGF Steering Committee. Ladies and gentlemen, we must all remember in the multi-stakeholder model of the internet, whether you represent government, civil society, the private sector, or the technical community, your voice and your contributions are vital. In making your voice heard, I urge us all to engage actively in discussions here and in our communities, advocate for policies that promote inclusion and the protection of rights of all users, invest in digital skills development, recognizing that our human capital is our greatest asset in the digital age, foster innovation to create solutions to local problems, and not forget to remain vigilant in addressing emerging issues related to cybersecurity and online safety. As we look forward to the global IGF in Riyadh in December, it is paramount that we produce a strong message for the world from Ghana so that our collective voice will be heard and changes that need to be made that are relevant to us will meet the action that is required. Thank you very much for coming, and I wish you productive deliberations.
Thank you so much. And I think we can do it again. We can show appreciation. And just before the Honorable Deputy Minister of Communications comes up, I just want to remind us we are the Ghana IGF 2024, and the IGF stands for the Internet Governance Forum. We are part of a regional initiative where we are part of the West African IGF. We're also part of the African IGF, and as Nana Asafo Edu just said, the global IGF. So once you are part of the Ghana IGFs, you should know that you are part of a global initiative in which we are looking to shape and help the internet space. So our next speaker is the Honorable Deputy Minister for Communications, Honorable Charles Acheampong, and he will be speaking, and he's representing the Honorable Minister for Communication and Digitalization. Please.
Good afternoon to you. And I remember, I heard the speaker talk about the broadcasting bill, and then he raised the issue about convergence. And I remember when the broadcasting bill was started. Now it looks like it has outlived its purpose. So he's right to want to find out why again do we still go on this broadcasting bill? Because we are already in the area of convergence. Probably maybe the stakeholders should have a look at the broadcasting bill again. Because then I remember its aim was on this convergence issue. So if there's already convergence, we should have a relook at the bill. Thank you. The GDNR board chair and board members, the GDNR and the chairman of Ghana IGF Steering Committee, president of ISOC Ghana, the honorable members of parliament, heads of agency, academia, the private sector, distinguished invited guests, ladies and gentlemen. It is with great honor and pride that I should stand before you today at the 2024 Ghana Internet Governance Forum. I extend a warm welcome to all stakeholders gathered here, each of whom plays a vital role in shaping the digital future of our nation. Over the years, the Ghana IGF has become a cornerstone of national discourse on internet governance, and it is a privilege to contribute to these critical discussions. This year's IGF, with a theme empowering sustainable development of our digital future, resonates deeply with our collective vision of leveraging digital technologies to foster sustainable development and inclusive growth in Ghana. I'd like to thank the Ghana Domain Name Registry and supporting team for putting this significant forum together. The Ghana IGF has evolved into a critical vehicle for our digital transformation. It provides a unique platform for dialogue among government, the private sector, civil society, and the academia. Here, stakeholders from diverse domains converge to shape Ghana's digital policy, proposing innovative solutions that will accelerate our national digital agenda. Mr. Chairman, in recent years, we have witnessed an unprecedented transformation in how we interact, communicate, and conduct business. The digital revolution has brought with it a wealth of opportunities, enabling us to connect with one another across vast distances and access information like never before. Digital technologies are bridging societal gaps, empowering citizens, and creating new avenues for prosperity. However, to fully harness this potential, we must build a digital future that is inclusive, secure, sustainable, a future that leaves no one behind. Central to our efforts not to leave anyone behind is the Ghana Rural Telephony and Digital Inclusion Project, which to date has constructed over 1,010 cell sites across the country, expanding mobile and broadband coverage to underserved and unserved communities. These initiatives have brought essential communication services to millions of Ghanaians who were previously excluded from the digital revolution. Additionally, the establishment of community information centers, CICs, and digital inclusion programs is equipping citizens with the skills necessary to thrive in the digital economy. Furthermore, the implementation of the national roaming policy, which allows seamless connectivities across different networks, exemplifying our commitment to inclusivity, has been particularly beneficial to underserved, unserved communities, ensuring that all citizens, regardless of location or network provider, remain connected. Mr. Chairman, I'm glad to see that the NCA is strongly represented here. Over the years, the support from the NCA has been critical in organization of IGFs and other critical digital programs in Ghana. The NCA has also been pivotal in regulating and promoting fair competition within the telecommunication sector in the country. Through its initiatives, a robust and resilient communication infrastructure is maintained. Mr. Chairman, trust is the bedrock of a healthy digital ecosystem. As we build our multi-stakeholder digital future, it is imperative that we prioritize trust in our interactions and transactions. We must work together to establish clear guidelines that protects user privacy, combats misinformation, and foster culture of accountability among all stakeholders. This is not only essential for protecting our citizens, but also for enhancing the global reputation of Ghana as a safe and secure digital hub. That is why cybersecurity remains a top priority. The Cybersecurity Authority stands as our first line of defense against growing cyber threats. The Cybersecurity Authority has implemented a comprehensive cybersecurity framework that protects our digital infrastructure and ensures the safety of our citizens, business, and institutions. As we strive to create a secure digital environment for all Ghanaians, the CSA's role will continue to be indispensable. To guide our digital transformation and efforts, the Ministry of Communication and Digitalization has developed comprehensive Ghana digital economic policy. This policy aligns our vision for a digitally empowered Ghana, where ICT is leveraged to drive economic growth, improve governance, and enhance quality of life for all citizens. It focuses on key areas, including expanding digital infrastructure, promoting digital literacy, ensuring cybersecurity, and fostering innovation. Importantly, it emphasizes inclusivity, particularly in addressing the gender digital divide, ensuring that all Ghanaians have access to the opportunities offered by the digital economy. There's no gainsaying that Ghana's domain name registry has been instrumental in driving the Internet Governance Forum over the years. The local domain name space is out of the backbones of our digital economy, and the registry continues its efforts to make the .gh domain a flagship extension for all Ghanaians and Ghana-based companies. Their work is raising awareness, building capacity within the local internet community, and hosting the DNS Forum in Ghana deserves our commendation. As we look ahead to the global IGF in December, which will be held in Saudi Arabia under the same theme, building our multi-stakeholder digital future, I'm confident that the insights and outcomes from our discussions over the next 2 days will seamlessly align with the global dialogue in Riyadh. Our collective vision is to harness digital technology to benefit every Ghanaian, and as we reflect on the strides we have made, we must also focus on a path ahead, a path we must navigate together. Mr. Chairman, in conclusion, I am reminded that the future we emphasize is one that we must build together. The digital transformation of Ghana is a collective effort, and I am confident that through our continued collaboration, we can create a future that is inclusive, secure, and sustainable. As we embark on this journey, the role of multi-stakeholder engagement cannot be overstated. Each of us governments, the private sector, civil society, and academia, individual users has a vital role to play in shaping policies that foster innovations, ensure security, and promote digital literacy. Our collaboration will be the cornerstone of an effective internet governance framework that addresses the needs and aspirations of all Ghanaians. Together, we are building a digital Ghana that will serve as a beacon of innovation, inclusivity, and progress for the entire continent. Thank you, and may God bless our homeland, Ghana.
All right. I think we can do it again for the Honorable. All right. So, yes. So after this session, will be having a group photo. I think we'll be taking the photo right in front here. Where do we want to take the photo? In front. Where? Outside. Here, in front of the stage. Okay. So we'll ask the dignitaries to line up here. Then some of us can be on stage so that we can get a wider picture. Cameraman, is that okay? Group photo. Here. Okay. So please, let's take the picture. And after that, we come into the next session. Please, dignitaries, please just line up here. Huh? Would they sit there? Oh. Okay, so just after we finish the photograph, we'll do a presentation for the youth hackathon. So please have a seat for me. Please, we are coming to take the picture. Okay, so after we take this one, then we all come onto the stage. So, camera. Good. Please, the audience can come, please. Yes. Can go. We fill up and others can also go on top of the stage. Yeah. Camera, when you're ready for us, please tell us. Okay, smile. Don't go far. Hello. You can come in front. Yes. Ready? Okay. Thank you so much. And just before the dignitaries, have you chosen those who are going to? So who's going to present to them? And who? Okay. So please, just before we go into our next session, we are going to do the presentations now for the policy hackathon.
Hello, everyone. So, as part of our pre-events for the youth, we did a virtual tech policy hackathon where participants had to show their novel ideas, innovative ideas concerning AI ethics, online safety, and meaningful tech connectivity. And we had amazing. Hello? Yeah. Unlock. We had amazing ideas showcased by our participants. Very brilliant ideas. They truly show their sharp tools outside the box. And I would like to invite Reverend Anaya to do the honest presentation. So we have our first winner in the name of Jerafin Jampoma. Please clap for her. So we have the check here. Yeah, so a cash prize of 1,000 cedis. Congrats, Jarafin. And Gifty Asamoah, the first. For Tech Loft, they're a team. Cash price of 700 cedis. Unfortunately, the third prize winner is not around, Vincent. So thank you so much for showcasing your brilliant ideas. Thank you. Well deserved. Congrats. Okay.
All right, thank you, Osai Keja. Okay, thank you. Let me stand in for the MC. So without wasting my time, we'll be diving into our next section, which will focus on fostering global digital equity, bridging gaps in education, health, agriculture. I would invite the panelists, and the moderator would join in soon. He stepped out. So we have Mrs. Maud Ajele Ashon Elliott. She's the Vice President of the Internet Society Ghana chapter. Please help me welcome her upstage. We have Nanaya Sewa Sapon. She is an international trade consultant and general manager at EIB Network. We have Dr. Millicent Agamba Bigba. She's a co-founder and executive director of Inclusive Tech Group. She'll join us online. We have Dr. Seth Alonyo. She's a cybersecurity consultant. She'll be joining us also online. And we have Ephraim Orakacha Tete also will be joining us as a panelist. And this session will be moderated.
All right. All right. Thank you so much, Francis, for standing in for us. And hi. Hello, everybody. I forgot to acknowledge this year's IGF, we also have the children joining us. They just came in for the opening ceremony, and they've gone back to the other session. But I just want to highlight this for us to know that when we're talking about internet governance, we want to be as inclusive as possible and also give opportunity for everybody to be able to acknowledge and also practice and utilize the technology. So quickly, I'll just do a quick round of introductions, and then we continue from there. So we're going to start from my extreme right. Yes, please. Please introduce yourself for the audience.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon to us all. And I bless the Lord that we are all alive and in good health to be contributing to the betterment of our country. So my name is Nanaya Sewa Sapon.
Just a second, please. Sorry, the speaker before forgot to introduce. There's one more speaker, Mr. Zakaria from the GIFEC. Apologies for that, please. I didn't introduce the panel, but the speaker just missed you. Sorry, Mr. Zakaria, please have your seat. Sorry. please continue the introduction. Sorry for breaking. Okay, all right. So we're just introducing ourselves. Okay. Yes, please.
Okay, so sorry. My name is Yahya Zakaria Osman. I work with GIFEC. The director in charge of operations.
Thank you.
Okay, so my name is Nanaya Sewa Sapon. This is my 25 years in media. I'm an international trade consultant. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a minister of the gospel. And I also lead women empowerment.
Thank you.
Okay, my name is Ephraim Urakatete. I'm a recent graduate of the University of Ghana. My contribution here is that I'm at the end use of, the internet experience. So, and partly I'm visually impaired. So my contribution is to the inclusivity nature of the conversation.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Maud Ajele Ashon Elliott, the Vice President of Internet Society Ghana chapter and a lecturer at the University of Professional Studies in Accra. Thank you.
Thank you so much, panel members. So you see, we have a very diverse panel members, and for this afternoon, yes, is Seth online? Hello, Seth, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
All right, can you introduce yourself, please?
Okay, good afternoon to everyone. My name is Dr. Seth Alonyo, a cybersecurity consultant. I do cryptography, specifically public key encryption, a lecturer, and also advocate of technology. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. All right, so for our theme for the panel discussion today, we are looking at fostering global digital equity, where we want to see in bridging the gaps in education, health, trade, agriculture, etc., etc. So I would like to start from my immediate right. Maud, when we're talking about fostering digital equity, what does that speak to you?
Thank you, Kweku. The digital space is now the kind of revolution we are in. So it means that we have to make sure we use technology to advance ourselves in whatever sphere we are in. It doesn't matter what you're doing, whether in agric, in education, in health. So you realize that it's the overall well-being of the human being using technology.
Thank you. So in your introduction, you said that in addition, you also are like a visually impaired person. So when we're talking about bridging this digital and the technology, how would you see it from your perspective?
Okay, so I'd like to use an analogy That way it helps, enlighten us more. So let's say there's a tree on which there is a mango, which is this digital space. And there is a short person and a tall person. So the tall person can easily get access to the mango on top of the tree. But as a short person, maybe I would need a little elevation before I get there. If you are saying that the space of digitalization is for all, then that should mean you should provide that space for that short person to reach that mango as well. So the whole idea is the inclusivity nature of it, that I should be included in the conversation right from the onset, or even if I come at a later stage, I should equally still be considered in that attaining of that digitalization or internet space that we are in. So.
Yeah, so from your perspective, what do you see about the digital gaps and digital connectivity?
Okay, thank you. First of all, thank you to IGF for putting this event together. It's always important to look at the gaps in any system and for us to foster the way forward. How I see the conversation is this. Before any country can live up to its maximum potential, be it economically, socially, politically, whichever way, it means as human resource, that is its people, must be brought at par to where it wants to be. This means that women, the involvement of women, women-led development in the internet space,
Recording
in the
in
technology
progress.
space is very key for us to achieve the digital divide that we want. And every conversation that seeks to advance the growth in this space must ensure to involve women. The question we ask ourselves is, have we involved women in the creation of policies? Have we involved women in the creation of apps, of digital means in the various spaces, be it in agriculture, in trade, in health? Have we thought of the usability, who the end users are? If we know women make up a majority of the population and they contribute the most, over 70%, to the economic empowerment of our nation, then it means women issues must be brought forth and women must be considered right from the onset. So that is how I see this conversation beginning. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Zakaria. I think we've all had a kind of perspective from education, from the disability, and from the women's perspective. Since you're coming from a government agency, what are the kind of gaps you see from a policy perspective?
Well, in terms of gaps in ICT utilization, without this, in fact, I would not have anything to eat, because that is where I work. I work with a fund or an agency that is looking at the gaps that are in the ICT space. So there are gaps in terms of connectivity, there are gaps in terms of digital skills, there are gaps in terms of access and service. So when you look at today, everybody is talking about mobile money. There are some areas in Ghana that you do not even have connectivity, let alone the value-added services. So there are a whole lot of gaps that exist, and that is what we do. So government has a deliberate policy to ensure that everybody in Ghana becomes part of the agenda. And that is why, if you heard the Deputy Minister of Communication, he made mention of government policy to connect 2016 rural communities as part of the telephony agenda. So that is where government is coming. Government is also making sure you can have the connectivity there. You can have, he also mentioned ICT centers, which we call community ICT centers. We have close to 300 of them dotted around the country. Because accessibility is a challenge. The connectivity may be there, but the people within the community may not be able to afford the devices and the services that are available. So it is also part of government's deliberate effort to make sure that you put a facility there and equip it so that people can go in and access the services that are available. If you do that and you put the facility there and the people do not have the right skill to access it, it's also a challenge. So there's also a gap when it comes to education, because it is not only the few of us who have had the opportunity to see the four walls of the classroom that should be part of the digital agenda. How about my grandmother who couldn't get the opportunity to go to school, but is very fluent in her local language? So local content is also important. There are some people who can speak Twi and write Twi very well, but if you put a computer or a digital device before them, so long as it is in English, then they become incapacitated. Then there is also the issue of what we have within the local environment. So what is the relevance of putting a digital tool that is marketing palm oil to somebody in Boku? It is of no value to the person. So the content relevance is also important. And there are these gaps that are available that we are trying to address.
Thank you so much, Mr. Zakaria. I will now go online to first Seth and then Dr. Millicent. Seth, what are the gaps that you see from your perspective?
Okay, so thank you very much. Bridging the gap in education, what I would say is that, yes, there exists a number of gaps. And if you look at literature, they are talking about gamification, meaning that we need to adopt the approach of gaming in our teaching and learning. And in our space, what do? We may have to have our content sometimes in a very user-friendly environment. Our local language, do we still stick to the English that we always have online? We may have to have a blend. When you come down to the gap that we have in the health sector, we need to have a user-friendly interface. We need to own the data that we have, the data that we generate from our various hospitals. Who are the people, managing that particular data set? We need to have an indigenous platform where this data is kept here. Because if the data is given to third parties, it means we are not safe and anything at all could happen. When you come down to the aspect of gap in agriculture, what we are also looking at is that the edge infrastructure that we have, leveraging edge computing, where we can use sensors to identify pesticides in our farms, making sure that we are able to have a wide-scale agricultural produce, all fall under infrastructure. That's the cost of internet. And so therefore, what do we need to do as an institution, as a government, policies? How do we make sure that the cost of data become easy, cheap, affordable to the Ghanaian people? And that is what I say that these are the gaps that you and I have to, look at. If you look at enrollment in ICT in the country, currently Ghana, almost all the universities in Ghana have high number of students pursuing computer science, information technology, information system. That tells us that we are really ready. The education that we need to give to the people, we are doing that. The Ghana Tertiary Education Commission is always getting experts to review content, making sure that we are able to, train our people to meet the global demand. So I say this gap, Ghana is in the right direction, and we are doing our best towards that space. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Seth. Dr. Millicent, can you hear us? Hello?
Hello, I can hear you. Looks like my...
Yes, please, the floor is yours.
Yeah, good afternoon to everyone, and thank you for the opportunity. I think we're discussing a very important issue when it comes to equity and digital space. And the first thing I want to point out, I think earlier on it was mentioned by one of the speakers, trying to give different support. When we are talking about equity, it shouldn't be the same, but different support so that everyone will feel belong as far as the digital space is concerned. We can talk about some very important milestone or achievements that we have had as a nation. Definitely, we have to appreciate that we've come very far, but then also still we can obviously talk about some gaps, right? So first has to do with infrastructure gaps, which leads to definitely the digital divide. Not everyone has connection to the internet. And even those who have the internet, we all have friends and colleagues. You send WhatsApp, the person is going to answer after 12 hours. We put our data on, off, touch, because we want to manage the cost, right? Yes. And so we can see that there is a long way to go. Definitely also we have issues of digital divide sometimes because people lack what we call the digital skills, the digital literacy, which is a problem. And so that also has to be looked at. Affordability gap is also there where everything is available but people cannot afford, which also has to be handled. So we can look at the gaps from different perspectives. But I want to touch a brief on education as somebody who is also in academia. And what I think it's one problem. Right now, the era we are in, it should be very okay for us to say we're conducting online examination, online tests or quizzes. But it's not that simple. I have had challenges trying to say I'm having an online test and everybody is in class, so connect. And more than half of the class, they are not able to connect. And so that is a reality. In the end, you have to go and print papers again and then give to people hard copies to try and then take part in those tests, right? And so that shows that we still have issues. And in academia also, looking at the emerging technologies that is available, a lot of us teachers and lecturers, we lack the needed skills. And so if you don't have the skill, all that you have to do is to try and resist that technology. Talking about technology such as AI. You give a student a work and they say, oh, you used AI, so I'm not even going to look at it. That is not the issue. The lecturer and the teachers have to have the knowledge about AI tools and exactly how, even as lecturers, we can also increase our productivity with it so that we can also teach the student appropriately. Every student has to understand that AI tools need human oversight. And so you cannot just dump something there and then it's generated and then you bring. They have to have an appreciation. They have cut-off knowledge. And so this cut-off knowledge is a limitation. If it's not been fed into the data set, it wasn't trained with it. If you ask, it's just going to hallucinate and give you false data. We need to have the prerequisite knowledge so that we can help the students to have a good appreciation of emerging technologies and how they can apply them responsibly in order to harness the full benefit. And so that is what I'll say for now.
Thank you so much, Dr. Millicent. I think she started off the conversation, in which the next round we're going to go. So far, we've been talking about gaps, we've been talking about problems from our different perspectives. And so I think once we're talking about problems, at least we should also be proffering some kind of solutions. And I think it's important that we have this conversation within our context or even within similar contexts we are used to, so that we can also give some solutions. So I'll start off with Maud from ISOC.
Well, I want to draw our attention to a document that we should all be interested in. That's the Digital Transformation Strategy by the African Union. We should all be interested in this. And Africa has a lot of countries that make Africa. But I realize that each country has its own ICT policy. And we should be interested in harnessing it and be guided towards that one goal. One of the visions that I want to read to all of us, that is by 2030, all our people should be digitally empowered and able to access safely and securely to at least 6 megabits at all the time, wherever they live in the continent, at an affordable price through a smart device manufactured in the continent at the price of no more than $100 to benefit from all basic e-services and content, of which at least 30% is developed and hosted in Africa. We have the write-ups, we have the policies. And throughout today, you realize that we know what we must do, but how do we do it? How do we go about it? As an educationist, one of my passions is that for any institution to work, or any country to work, the institutions must work. And the institutions are the people. But I have also learned that leadership is something that also pushes us to advance. As people, we must have a mindset where we are ready to learn and learn, relearn, and then get to the program. I have been studying this document over time, and I'll be having that discussion on the Africa platform somewhere on Tuesday, where the idea is we have a vision from 2020 to 2030. Have we been doing research such that every year for us to assess where we are going, for us to really identify the gap and how we are going to solve it, each year, is it being done? As an educationist, my interest is, let's start from the basis. You realize that even the people who have younger children, 1 year old, when they pick up the phone, they know where to go. Why are we not? And then changing the way we teach. I think the educationist should be the first point of target, not even the learners. The educationist should be taught how to teach. The students should be taught how to learn in this digital environment. What it means is that there should be this disruption of what goes on. This is how we've been doing it all this while. It must change. And somebody must push for that kind of implementation. And then as people, we must also change our mindset. This is how, for me, the solution must start. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Maud. Ephraim, before you go on, I think she touched on something about education, and I know you're going to give us something, but I also want the audience to we'll come to you for questions, but there's another aspect to that we also need to look at. Apart from that, I think Zach talked on it, and we'll come back to all of them. How are we translating these technologies, these solutions, into our local languages? Because, in Africa, in Ghana, we live in a multilingual, I think somebody said something about his grandmother or something, I don't remember. But we'll come to the audience too for questions. So, Ephraim, your solutions from your perspective.
So, premised on my earlier analogy, where I said, you have to elevate someone, you would also realize that all the gaps, all the things we mentioned here, is practically centered on education as well as infrastructure. So let's take the educational part. Now, most of the education, this is in perspective to me, so most of the education given is centralized in the sense that as a visually impaired or as a person with disability, you would have to leave, if you're in Ghana, any part of Ghana, you'd have to leave wherever you are to practically come down to maybe Accra. If I want to learn IT, I want to be educated with regards to using the computer, I would have to come to maybe Accra to come and get tuition. Then after that, maybe I go back to wherever I am and go and be productive there. But a more decentralized system might help. It's being done in some facets, as in people go to these rural areas and then try and give them some form of education. But there should be institutions there in these various maybe regions. That way, everybody who has such a situation can go there, go and get a training he or she needs, and then be able to be productive in the situation up there. With regards to education again, I keep saying that most of the learning, I mean the training that is given to people to maybe use the devices, computers, whatever it be, it's more of visual, or it's more centered on person who can use it easily. But then, considering that there are equally other people in our midst, it is only prudent that we factor them in the education that we are given. I guess today there's a translation person here who is translating for the, person having issues with their, and that way, whatever we are communicating here, they are equally benefiting. So in that education that is being given to all, I guess we should equally include these special educations. Sometimes the teachers who are teaching that thing have no knowledge even that, okay, this computer I'm using, is it even possible? He's not even aware that persons with disability can use the computer. They feel you have to go and magically put something on there before they can use it. But it is the same computer we are all using, or it is the same devices we are all using. It's just a little education you need to have in order to maybe teach someone who has that situation and make him equally benefit from that education that you are given. So I guess the solution would be that in regards to education, there should be that decentralized system, as well as special education in terms of these specific regions equally be given. I guess maybe others would equally touch on the infrastructure part. Thank you.
Thank you. Nana, yes. You spoke something about a very equal or important constituent, especially we're talking about gender, we're talking about women, we're talking about participation. But is there any other aspects you see in terms of the solutions to the gaps that we've highlighted you want to talk about? Any other perspective? You can add to that as well, yeah.
Thank you very much. My response will be along the same line. That's gender, women. But before I do that, there is one key challenge that we forgot to address. But that is the bedrock for most of the gaps that we have. And that is illiteracy. Before we can make advancement, whether it is on the technology side, even financial side, and all of that, every empowerment that we need to do to be able to bring our human force to par, or to bring women up and ensure they are being engaged in economic activities, is to address the issue of illiteracy in Ghana and across Africa. For all the activities and solutions that we are providing, we must ensure that the common user, usually we would just focus on the urban centers and those of us in the urban areas, but we forget that the majority of our people are in rural communities. These are people who are, in terms of social amenities and their availability, their access to growth, in many areas of their lives, they find themselves limited. So anytime we are coming out with solutions to bridge the gap in the technology space, we need to address that. And that will be one solution alongside, so that we are looking at the usability, the interface. Is it friendly? Does it speak to the people? And we cannot do that if we don't involve them in the process. So that comes to the second solution, inclusivity. The inclusivity must be real. It must be practical. I like to approach things very practically. We must not just get a miniature representation around the table when we're taking decisions. We are creating apps. We are creating digital solutions. We must make sure that that market woman is represented, that farmer is represented. As we know in Ghana, and I speak for agriculture as well, a lot of our agricultural output is coming from smallholder farmers. And these smallholder farmers, a majority, over 70% of them, are women. And these women, most of them cannot even use a mobile phone, even the analog. When they get text message, they cannot see it. So if we are sending information to them on the right way to apply their fertilizers, how to treat their soil, in which season to plant, how are they going to read it if they don't have someone to read it for them? So then we must now really look at how we are reaching to them. Is it in a way that is helpful to them? We must assess that as well. Most of them, even to use their mobile phone, they will need to call someone. Even to make a phone call, they can't identify who. So these are factors that must be considered when we are looking at it. So I've mentioned inclusivity. I've mentioned literacy. I would also go ahead to mention driving innovation. So technology should not just be we riding on the wave of it. We should not just ride on the wave of technology, but we must make technology speak to our solutions. So that our technology speak to the solution of the rural woman. If we want a boost in our agricultural sector and the majority are these women, then how have we positioned our solutions? That's one thing that we must look at. And then offline use of technology. The apps we're developing, are we considering the fact that not all of them would have access to internet at every time of the day? So are we giving them offline solutions? We've also made mention of content. As someone who has been in the media for 25 years and produced some of the best content in the country, I tell you, one of the best ways to tell a story and to reach out to someone and to communicate is through content. Content that is well curated to speak to the people and to attract them and to gain their attention. And that would include the language, the format, and all the ways that are delivered to them. Some of these content can be produced that may not, can reach them, these rural women, without internet, but still through technology. So we can look at all of these solutions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nana. So, Mr. Zakaria, we are talking about solutions, and I know you sit at the helm of giving solutions in terms of infrastructure. Would you like to share and even probably look at future kind of solutions or some contemporary solutions you think, from your experience, can be able to help in Ghana?
Okay, thank you very much. Solutions. So the solution is to coordinate with everyone that is seen as relevant when it comes to this. So partnerships is something that you have to look at. If we look at the digital space, if you look at Ghana as a whole, the mobile network operators are the ones that would provide the infrastructure to the served communities, the underserved communities, and the areas that do not have connectivity whatsoever. They are the ones that should provide the connectivity, as well as the internet service providers. But 99% of the time, the mobile net, every business entity is out there to make profit. Okay, so the MNOs, Telecel, Telecel, MTN, and whatnot, they look at areas that they would invest and get their return on investment. So you hear MTN will tell you in their advert, they will say MTN everywhere you go. Now, when you go beyond the district capital and you go into the hinterland, you don't have MTN coverage. It is not because MTN doesn't want to go there, but they look at how much they would have to invest in and support the infrastructure they put in place and how long it would take them to recoup. Most of the time, truth is that even in terms of their monthly operational expenditure to keep the facility in place, they will be running at a loss. So they don't want to go there. So the solution is that there should be government investment in that direction. And that is why government is deploying rural telephony solutions. These are very innovative solutions. You don't have to have a very big tower because the community itself, but the population may just as well be 2,000, 1,500 people. But in terms of inclusivity, you cannot leave them out. So what do? We have to innovatively deploy solutions that will suit their needs. So we put up a 16 or 18-meter tower in that community. Now, when we talk about universality, somebody is interested, somebody has a Telecel SIM card, somebody has an MTN card, SIM. Then these people live within the same community, and the preference or choice is another thing. So how do we deal with these people as well? So the solution is also to make sure that you enable all these people to be able to access the infrastructure. So in our deployment and to meet these demands, even these small towers that we put in those communities, we have enabled roaming on them. So if you go to my holy village and you see a very small tower there and it is connected, irrespective of which network you are using, should be able to connect onto that, and you should be able to access whatever network you want to. You can make your local calls and get access to internet and browse and do whatnot. So that is in terms of connectivity. Now, there is also this challenge when you talk about digitalization. It's not just intentional. People are averse to certain issues, not so clear about them. In this country, a couple of years back, the vice president was mentioned the of drones for delivery of medical things, and some people expressed their misgivings about that, saying all sorts of things. Now, if you are introducing digital solutions to communities and the people do not understand what they are about, you can put the nicest edifice and stock them with the latest computers and bring fiber and everything. It will amount to naught if they don't appreciate what the whole thing is about. So yes, I agree. We need to do sensitization. We need to do education. We need to let people understand what these things are all about. So technology, connectivity, investment, education, and appreciation of. There is also this gap. If you go to certain parts, I am from the north anyway. There are certain parts of the country where you go and then look, the girls are not allowed to touch certain things, So there is a gender gap. There's a gender gap. The boys are the ones who are allowed to play football. They are the ones who are allowed to touch the computers. They are the ones who are allowed to have mobile phones. But the girls are not. And so to deal with this, there is also this conscious effort by our sector ministry. The ITU, International Telecommunications Union, has a policy, something they celebrate annually. It is a one-day affair where they express and explain the use of ICT to girls. just so that the girls would have idea about how it is, and then they would also begin to have the interest in going into ICT sector. But Ghana, our sector minister, has made it in such a way that every year, instead of a one-day affair, we do it over a 2-week period. And in many cases, we do it a number of times. So this year, for example, we have done it, and we are going to go to Ashanti region, and it is aimed at training girls at basic schools, so that when you train the girls, you are also closing that gender gap. If you train one girl, the result is that you are going to have a lot of so many girls also trained. And the best of it is that once one girl is trained, then it breaks down that euphoria or that thing about girls not getting closer to it. So gender gap is also something that is being addressed.
Thank you so much, Mr. Zakaria. We'll go online to first Seth, Solutions, and then we'll come to Dr. Millicent. Hello, Seth, can you hear us?
Yes, thank you very much. I also want to talk about, the foundation, solutions, our senior high schools. Why are we not allowing them to use mobile phones? We invest heavily in girls in ICT, and we go to the primary schools and we try to introduce them to IT tools. But these people are not using these tools on a daily basis. Even the senior high school, they are not using the smartphones. I had the opportunity to, teach at the Chinese university. And you could see that a boy or a girl at the age of 5 or 6 is able to, go around a mobile phone. Why is it that in our domain here, senior high school students do not use mobile phones? Let's look at what's happening in the age of AI. These things we are learning at the senior high school, relative mass, physics, chemistry. Look, we have rich videos out there that could teach these things more than the teacher that has been trained. But we have denied these students from having access to this rich content. And these are the same people, when they complete the senior high school, they are coming straight to us at the university. And they come to the university, they don't even know how to hold a mouse. Okay, they don't even know how to hold a mouse. They don't even know, some of them have not even heard of Facebook. Okay, let me tell you an analogy. A lady got to the boyfriend's place and the boy told him that, hey, why don't you call an Uber? Why don't you call a boat so that the boat will come for you? And the lady responded that, nah, why? What sea is here that you want me to go and take a boat? Because he has not had a boat app before. So the solution is that let's solve the basics. Let's go down to the foundation. Our senior high schools, allow them to use the mobile phones. Allow them to have access to rich content online. It doesn't mean when they use the mobile phone, they are going to use it for any other thing that we don't want, but let's educate them. The second one is that if we cannot make internet free in this country, then government should own the infrastructure. Then making sure that internet access become very, very, very affordable. Because nowadays, you can do everything using AI tools. We have what is called prompt engineering. And industries are even hiring people in that space. Let's allow our people have access to the internet so that these tools will be very handy to them, so that when they go into the universities or other places, they can impart that skills to their colleagues. The last one I want to talk about is the infrastructure aspect. We have to allow the data sit in Africa. We don't have to allow the data go out there. All of us, what do? We always save our data in the cloud. We don't encrypt this data. We keep this data in the cloud. And what happened? The cloud service providers sell this data. They make good money out of us. We have all kinds of chats on social media. The platform doesn't belong to us. So, governments should own the infrastructure. Let's keep our data in our domain. We have all the policies in Ghana, but where are our data? So I would say, one, government has to own the infrastructure. Let's allow the free senior high schools have access to the mobile phone. If it is possible, it should go down to the GHS so that they appreciate the technology. And then if internet cannot be made free, let's make sure that it's very cheap and affordable to the people. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. We go to Dr. Millicent. If you have any addition to the solutions you said, I know you gave some solutions, but do you have any more additions to the solutions, Dr. Millicent?
Yes, yeah, I'm here. I don't know if I can be heard. Yes.
You can be heard, please.
So, yeah, very important submissions have been made there. One thing I also want to say is in this era where we use a lot of digital technologies, it's important that as a country we learn to use context-oriented technologies, solutions that we can hold, solutions that are developed by us, where we take into consideration our context and the perspective of how people look at things, so that you don't go and you are using a database in Ghana and they're asking you the color of your hair, you have blue eyes. I mean, it's weird. That tells us that we are just having a design reality gap. So let's learn to build our own solutions that can relate more to our context. And quickly, I want to move to issue of more of digital inclusion for persons with disability as a very strong disability tech advocate. And so one issue we have, we look at inclusive education policy, which was passed, I think, somewhere in 2015. And up to now, we have a lot of work to be done. You cannot just say, I'm applying to any school if you're a person with disability, because accessibility to lecture rooms, to the ICT laboratory that is there, which does not have some of the assistive technologies that they have to use. And so there is always some sort of restriction. A lot has to be done in that space. If you move out of the classroom, so I'm done with my education, I've graduated in the course of my work, God forbid, I have an issue with my eye, I cannot see. So how do I still learn the technology as a blind person and then bounce back and make sure that I don't become a liability? There are no such training centers available. And it's one thing which, from our end as Inclusive Tech, we've been working on assisting so many people in that regard, because once you're not going back to the classroom, you are done with the classroom, and you have a situation like that, especially late disabilities. What is the person supposed to do? The person still needs training to appreciate that you can still use a technology in your old and your new state and still, contribute to society. And that also means that we have to make a conscious effort and look at assistive technologies and see how we can subsidize assistive technologies in Ghana. We have to have a strong policy about that, because as a country, we do not have. Persons with disability always have more cost burden, because you need to get a computer like every other person, but you need to also buy a screen reader, you need to get a hearing aid, and so on and so forth. And these things are very expensive. First, because you have to import them, and so they are very expensive. So what sort of support are we making to make sure that persons with disability in this regard are also able to harness the benefits of technology, use it equally, just like every other person? And so that is one aspect also that I think we need to have a strong policy about. That a lot of countries have policies on assistive technologies, and it's making it very easy for every person with disability to have access. And once they have access, then the next thing becomes the training, and which I already mentioned, available training centers that they can also get the necessary knowledge and appreciate how to use this technology to their benefit.
Okay.
So that's what I have to add.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Millicent. So now we're going to go into the audience for some questions. There's a microphone there. So please, questions? Yes. There's somebody at the back.
All right, thank you, Kweku. Very interesting conversation. All right, so my question is, I've noticed it's known that most of the content online, YouTube, being it browser, is normally in English. And so I think, was it Nanaya made mention that every farmer, the farming community, they don't have access to read SMS. So if most of our content are in English, how then do those who are not very educated benefit from this digital literacy we're talking about? And also, I can attest to the fact that most of, not just government, a lot of websites in Ghana here are not compliant to those who are visually impaired. Are there policy or procedure to be able to include them in this conversation you're talking about? Thank you.
Take the other, okay, hold on. We take a set of questions, please just know them, then we'll come to you.
Okay, please, Derek Agboja. I want to commend Uncle Seth about what he said about the prices, as in the affordability. You buy a bundle, 10 cities, 1 minute finish. And then we heard there's something coming which is Starlink, and then the prices are, in fact, they said, I got to know that the satellite alone is 5,000 and above. I mean, so something should be done about its affordability. Yeah. If the money is not there, you can be, I mean, you can have your computer, you can have everything, but not being able to buy it will not allow you to access it. Thank you. And also with the language aspects, I mean, I am a Chi graduate, I can. So with that part too, we Ghanaians, we don't appreciate our L1 at all. So that part should, it should be looked at. Thank you.
Take the third question then.
Okay, thank you very much, able panelists. My name is Keja. One of the panelists online who joined remotely did mention about digital infrastructures, how resilient it should be. I'm trying to understand what strategic measures in terms of, he did mention of data extractivism and also government ownership. I'd like to know what strategic measures can be put in place so that either it's PPP or how can the way forward, I would like to know the way forward in terms of ownership of these digital infrastructures. Thank you.
I hope we've noted the questions. And can we take a last one, then we just take the questions? So there's a young lady here. Hi.
Hi everyone, I'm Farida Mohammed and I'm a student of KNUSC. So, a lot have been said. So what are the initiatives to back up on the solutions that you mentioned? So I want to know the initiatives that you've put in place.
My name is Sarah Kekeli and I volunteer with the Inclusive Tech Group, and I'm also the Vice President of Campus Association of Students with Special Needs on University of Ghana campus. I want to add up to what Doc said, Dr. Millicent. When it comes to IT labs, it's not accessible. If you are visually impaired, you can't access a public IT lab. You have to, it has to be made, I don't know how to say, but every public IT lab should have screen reader softwares ingrained in them, so that when you are a visually impaired individual, you just enter into any lab, you just activate the screen reader software, and then you use it. But every IT lab that I know that is not an assistive lab does not have all of those things. And it makes accessing the internet some way. It means that you have to have your own PC. So if you are a person with visual impairments and you do not have your own PC, you can't access any other computer out there. and also the infrastructure. It should also be made accessible so that persons with physical challenge should also access it. There should be ramps. The stairs are too much. When you enter places, there are a lot of stairs. It does not help the person with visual impairment. It also does not help the a wheelchair user or someone that is physically challenged. So I hope that my voice is going to go out there, and I hope that I'm being heard, that when buildings are being built, accessibility should not be an afterthought. That's even extra cost. Excuse me to say, you call that the stupid tax. Because you've built it already, now you have to bring it down and try to make it accessible. So from now onwards, please, buildings should be accessible. If there are stairs, there should also be ramps that we can use. And also, when we're having these conversations, when we're talking about digitalization, the deaf should not be left behind, because sometimes they do not have access to information. When the Disability Act says that every person with disability has a right to access information. So all these things should be taken in place, because there are different types of disability, those with cerebral palsy, those with learning disabilities, the deaf, and all of that. Please, inclusivity. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So I don't know, for our panel members, there's been a set of questions which has been asked. Would we like to start online and come to our panel members? Is there anybody online who would like to respond?
Yeah, I wanted to start with the first question, if it's possible. Yeah, hello.
Yes, please.
All right. So I think Francis was asking about
Hello, please go ahead. Okay.
Recording in.
Okay. I want to respond to the first question about the content.
Hello?
Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Yeah, so please make your intervention quickly in 1 minute. Yes.
Yeah, I was saying that regarding the question that was asked about web accessibility, yeah, it's also one challenge. Most websites and portals are not very accessible or compliant for persons with visual impairment to use. And it's because we don't also have a policy on that. Most countries have web accessibility policy or guidelines that people are supposed to follow, or developers, to ensure that your websites are technically accessible from the beginning when you are designing it. And so if we can have a policy or a guideline provided on that, I think it will make the developers to think through as they develop these kind of systems to make sure that it's compliant with those guidelines that have been provided, especially for the government-owned portals. I personally have done research on that. It's very problematic because government services are mostly monopoly. You don't expect somebody to get a passport from somewhere, and then if the portal is not accessible, how are persons with visual impairment supposed to be accessing it? And then also with the issue of language, the content, I think that there are a lot of technology that we can harness on natural language processing and so on to make sure that we develop content in different languages, right? So that people who are not so much used to the English language per se can have access and also understand what is happening. And so what I would say is that developers of systems and those who are providing services, they have to look at the other alternative of providing content in very popular local languages that will also help other people to able to have access. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, just to add to that quickly on that point of content, I would want to encourage anyone in this room who is interested in producing content in local language to do so, because as it stands statistically, In fact, the local content, which we see as the mass content, is one of the most highly marketable content. When you want content that can bring you a lot of audience and a lot of money, in all my years, the local content works and sells. So let's go into that. What I will say is that there's something we call subtitles. When you put subtitles onto your content, you are able to send that same local content to your local community, and you're also able to send it to the international community. We are in Ghana and we watch Korean series. The Korean series are in their language. But why do we watch it? Because one, those are compelling content. So that is what we must look to creating. Content that is compelling, that someone cannot switch off, but they will listen through to the end. They will watch through to the end. Once you have that ingredient of compelling content, put subtitles on it and make sure that you are doing your spell check and there's the right English words that are written on it, and your content will go international, even though it is local. Thank you.
All right. So now, because we're running out of time, I'll just like us to make our last submissions in a minute or two, please. We start from Mr. Zakaria.
Okay, thank you. My last comment, just to give the lady who asked the question about what is done for persons with visual impairment, or just to give her assurance that from government's point, there are steps that are being taken, especially from where I sit. GIFEC, in all our community ICT centers, we have constructed them in such a way that persons with disabilities will be able to access them. We have also worked the Council for Persons with Disability, especially the Visually Impaired Council, to train over 200 teachers to be able to teach in communities where we have people of such. University of Ghana is an example. University of Cape Coast is an example. We have supported Ekropon School for the Blind, WASC School for the Blind, and a number of institutions. So we are not leaving you out. If we do that, then it means that our idea of bridging the gap is not being adhered to. We are looking at that. We are also trying, we are working with Alliance for Affordable Internet. Much as we are deploying infrastructure, we are also looking at how the cost of internet access would also come down. The cost is a factor of several things, several variables. The cost of the device, taxes, and a whole lot of things. So when the mobile network operators are levying the cost on data that we buy, the bundles, it is also because of the other factors that are in place. So we are working with them, and then we are also working to ensure that the digital agenda of ensuring that everybody becomes part of ecosystem is achieved. We would offer the education and everybody understand, educated to be able to use what is put in place.
Yes. In less than a minute, please. Closing remarks. Yes.
Okay. So quickly, I believe we didn't touch on trade. So I'll use my opportunity to quickly, trade. Women in trade. So women who are in trade, you know that without technology these days, nothing can be achieved. Let's take the opportunity to use technology to learn more about trade. For those in cross-border trade, the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement, which is touted as one of the world's best when it comes to a trade agreement that puts significant importance on the involvement of women. The AFCFTA stands tall. But if it is giving us the opportunity and we are not tapping into it as women, then there is a gap, there is a big gap. So let's use technology to learn. Due to the AFCFTA, now women are doing cross-border trade across Africa. It is working. There is an e-commerce platform that is working. So please, let's hop on with our products, and our products can be in Kenya, it can be in Ethiopia, selling for us, and we are making money. And finally, there's a clarion call that I'm giving to each and every one of us represented here, that there are women who cannot be in this room. They are in our rural communities. They are engendered by a lot of things. They are limited in a lot of things. And some of them are in our families. Please, let's take the opportunity to bring every woman along. When we talk about inclusivity, we must also talk about sustainability. We cannot have sustainable growth in the development of women if we are not carrying every woman across. So every woman that you know, if you are a man, there are he for she champions. Make yourself one. Make sure that you are making your woman have available time to learn and to grow. Because one of the key things, obstacles that prevent women from participating in economic activities is unavailability of time. Because that same woman is taking care of the home, doing this, doing that, doing that. But as men and as women, fellow women, let's work together so that our women have enough time to be able to learn technology, to be able to learn and access certain platforms. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'll be as snappy as possible. To the personnel from GIFEC, I would say I'll be like Oliver Twist and say we're asking for more, because more is being done, but I think much more can be done, so that everybody is taking along this pathway. I would say I'm pleased to, contribute to the conversation amongst great minds who are here. And I would say that we can come up with the policies or make our contributions, but I think more action can be done. It's been stated here over and over again that the policies are there, but it's the action that needs to be done. So let's talk more action. Thank you.
Oh, the other last word.
Thank you very much. I'm inviting you all to UPSA tomorrow and Saturday. I'm talking about the females. There's a hackathon that will be ongoing, collaboration between Web Ghana, MTN, UPSA, and Internet Society Ghana chapter. And in talking about education, we'll just still have to say, and I'm reiterating the fact that let's start from the basic level. Let's have that conversation with our children. And whilst using these digital technologies, they have come to stay. But what we are supposed to do is to show them how to stay safe online, what kind of content they should look at, these technologies should not take over their lives. Thank you.
Hello, good evening. Good afternoon, sorry. Yeah, I think our next and final session is on the future of internet security, how DNS can contribute to a safer and more secure internet ecosystem in Ghana. And this session was put together by Ghana Domain Name Registry, together with the DNS local community that we have in Ghana. So this session basically has 4 objectives. That is to understand the role of DNSSEC in improving internet security, discuss the current state of DNSSEC adoption in Ghana, identify the challenges and best practices, and then explore the future prospects of DNS in the CCT of the ecosystem. After this session, what we are expecting as an outcome is increased awareness and understanding of DNSSEC among network operators, identification of key challenges and solutions for DNSSEC implementation, sharing of best practices for those who practice DNS security, and then also give an insight into the future of DNSSEC and then the internet security as a whole. So I will welcome our lead facilitator, or the lead for this session, who is Goswe Kubi. He's the lead facilitator for. Yeah, he's the lead facilitator for Internet Society Online Safety. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. I think it's been a great day so far. We've been talking about inclusivity, connectivity, technology, and I think now let's look at the security aspect. So, but don't be worried. We'll try as much as possible to break everything down for you. We won't go more technical. All right, so let me just go quickly to invite our panel. So today here with me we have Isaac Sechi from MTN. Isaac Sechi. Also, we have the head of cybersecurity at Invertech Global, which is George. I think one person is joining us online, Emmanuel Ahini. If you can hear me, you are welcome. Tech support. Please, can you check if Emmanuel is available? Okay, sure, thank you. Okay, so before we start, I just want to maybe get a question for us. I want to maybe psych our mind to what we are about to do. So imagine maybe you have all the security measures. Maybe you have all the security measures that money can buy. You have CCTV, alarm systems in your home, and maybe you leave the front door wide open. What happens? All these security measures, doesn't really make sense. It doesn't really do anything. So likewise, when we talk about domain name system security extensions or domain name systems, which is usually the gateway for all sites, when you leave that domain name open and you don't secure it properly, what happens? People then get into it. So regardless of the security measures you put in place elsewhere, when you leave the front door, which is the DNS open, you are still not protected. So that is where DNSSEC come into place. So let's quickly look at that. And so Isaac, welcome Isaac, welcome George, and also Emmanuel joining us online. So today, let's just go straight forward to the point. So Isaac, I think we have, maybe if somebody might be asking what is DNSSEC and what is it about? So I think anyone or Isaac, you can just give us an overview of DNSSEC and how it works, and maybe possibly add in some importance of why we should integrate this.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Isaac, an IP engineer with MTN Ghana. To understand what DNSSEC is, we first need to understand what DNS is. So somewhere in the 1980s, they created a system that translates URLs or domains to IP addresses. All of us as humans, we are comfortable with names, not the IP addresses. So we needed a system that will convert the names that we put in our browsers to IP addresses, which the computers understand. Now, that was just the basic work the DNS needed to do, and it did that just right. Along the line, some bad actors capitalized on the security loopholes, where any IP address that the name translates to, the systems or the computers don't have any intelligence to confirm whether they are actually going to the right IP addresses or they are being redirected. So the Internet Engineering Task Force came up with a system which we refer to as the DNS security extension that brings in some security where you either sign records in your domain, and then the resolvers also have a way of verifying whether information they are getting from online are what they have to be. So in short, that is what DNSSEC is. It is a security extension to the domain name system.
Okay, that is a great one. George, would you like to maybe highlight on maybe the importance of it again? Let's see. Let's hear your thoughts.
The importance of DNSSEC. Well, as Isaac rightfully said, when DNS was being implemented in the 1980s, security wasn't a core function, just like with IoT. So as time went on, as he rightfully said, attackers capitalized on that and used that. So now, if you, from an attacker perspective, if you look at, let's say, for instance, a firewall, that's what protects organizations from, attacks. The firewall checks for security at a lot of levels, but one of the levels it doesn't check for is DNS. So attackers exploit that, and through that, they are able to perform attacks on a system. And as we rightfully said in the beginning, it's kind of like you are leaving your front door open. All the security measures have been kept in, but because of the absence of DNSSEC, somebody will be able to get into your system. So it's very important in the ecosystem of the internet.
Okay, thank you so much. Emmanuel, if you can hear us, do you have any thoughts on that? Do you have any?
I can hear you. I don't know if I'm heard.
Yes, you are perfect. We can hear you, but kindly speak loud a bit.
All right, so thank you very much for this question. The panelists have given very good exposure on what DNSSEC is, and it's rightly so. Maybe I'll just add up a few things to help with the clarity of DNSSEC. So just as the first engineer said, you are having typically IP addresses, and it's hard for people to memorize IP addresses. So you append names to the IP addresses. And if somebody would type the name in the browser, then that name needs to be resolved to the particular IP address. And when it goes to the particular server that has that IP address, the server needs to respond. Okay, so the response is the server before the introduction of DNSSEC was not authenticated. So what it means is that if you type in www.google.com, you would get responses anyway, but there was no way to check whether the responses you were getting was actually from Google. So what it means is that anybody else could just spoof and then give you any information in your browser, and basically it may come in to deceive you or to get you to put in some credentials of yourself, all right? So that gap of having no way to check the responses from the DNSs was really a huge problem, and that is why the ICANN, recommended that all domain name registrars and registries would have this DNS security extension so that all records of DNSs are properly authenticated. And when they are authenticated, it means that they are going to be signed with a digital signature. And this is cryptographic digital signature. So once they are signed, then there must be an intermediary who would verify the signature from the domain name records. And that is the resolver. That's where the resolver comes in. And so you would have service providers like maybe MTN, Scancom, and Cloudflare, and other companies standing in there as the resolvers. What they typically are doing is to verify those records that are coming from the domain name servers. And when they do that, they would validate that whatever is being sent is correct, and then it's only after then that the client now gets it. So now this domain name security extension now brings in enough process for validation to safeguard the browsing experience of any common user. So now when you type in www.google.com, I mean, what happens is basically the resolver is just going to make sure that whatever responses you are having is correctly validated and that it's coming actually from Google, and so you are able to experience safe browsing. So without that, it was possible for many kinds of attacks to actually happen. So that's a little I can add on for now. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much, Emmanuel. But before we continue, please, may I raise your hand if you are a network operator. Any network operator in the house? Okay, sure. So I think, George, so looking at the Ghanaian space, maybe let's look at maybe some of the, the current level of DNSSEC adoption. How is Ghana been like adopting this DNSSEC, especially among network operators?
Okay, in the past, it wasn't really that great because starting out in cybersecurity, you find yourself in certain forums that security professionals are on. Then one of the things they do there is that they have targets they work on. Then you realize that Ghana's country code top level domain is one of the domains that's been targeted. Is that okay? So that was in the past, but with time, I think the GDNR and ICANN came together to implement solutions to improve DNSSEC in the country, and that has really improved posture of our cyber domain.
Okay, thank you. Isaac, can you give us maybe your thoughts on that?
Sure.
As well?
So DNSSEC is in two phases. You have the registrar who has the records, who needs to sign, and then people like us who are running resolvers within our network who need to do validation. The good news is, in Ghana, as we speak, we have a very high rate of DNSSEC validation. Currently, we stand at 98.3%, the third highest in West Africa, and the fifth in Africa. Now, if you want to juxtapose that by the sampling rate, then Ghana stands as number one. So in that aspect, we are doing extremely well. A few years ago, GDNR, ICANN, and a few players came together, worked tirelessly to get all the guys who run resolvers involved. So most people today are doing DNSSEC validation. The only problem we have now is that the .gh domain itself is not signed. So that leaves a small dent. But if you are able to get that, just like Sudan has been able to do, Senegal has been able to do, then the outlook of Ghana on the international front will be very bright. Because in Ghana, we are doing what the major players are not yet looking at. If you look at Nigeria, if you look at South Africa, if you look at Morocco, Algeria, Egypt, all these people are lagging behind. And Ghana is doing 98.3%. That is something which I think we should be proud of.
Great. Oh, I was expecting a clap that Ghana is doing well. Great, great. Thank you so much. So let's keep up the good work to get Ghana on the top. So Emmanuel, maybe if you would like to share something about that also.
Yeah. So that's correct. What my brother Sechi, am I right? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So what he said is exactly correct. And even, if you look at the current data, I think it's even better. We are at 99.64%. When it comes to DNSSEC validation, it's super great here in Ghana. But just as he said, we have some serious dent, and the dent is that all our .gh domains have no digital signature. They don't run any cryptographic signature mechanism that would even enable a validation at the side of the resolvers. So what it means is that if you are having a domain, if you bought a domain that is .com.gh, you would not be able to have DNSSEC support. And it's something that we must actually take it seriously, to look at how this can be done. So we can have .gh domains properly signed and enabling verification at the resolver side. So yes, it's just as the point as my brother Sechi said. And it's something that I think we can work on and get better, just like we have other examples to look at, like Sudan and so on. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I know our brother Emmanuel has been mentioning some technical terms which some people might not be familiar to, but I will come back to him. He will explain to us. All right, so let's look at, we spoke about adoption. So maybe let's also look at maybe what are some of these challenges, in implementing some of these DNSSEC and how these challenges can be overcome. So Isaac, I would like you to maybe give us, a brief about some of these challenges and also how it can be overcome.
So from where I sit, we mainly do resolver caching. So it's not really a big issue on my side. It's just a component of the configuration you would have to update to do automatic validation, and that is just about it. But for operators who would need to sign their domains, the zones within their jurisdiction, there is usually that problem of uncertainty. There are many people, we talk about DNS, DNSSEC validation, or DNSSEC signing, and they don't have the requisite knowledge. So such people, they shy away from the conversation if they don't want to get involved in something that will expose their weakness. Other people too just don't know, are afraid something might go wrong. What if something goes wrong? How are they going to come up again and then run their service and all of that? Then you need to also look at the operational overhead, because once you sign a zone and there is a record that is updated within your jurisdiction, you need to do that again, and so it adds some operational overhead. In the past, we used to hear about high utilization of resources on the computers or systems that were running the DNS systems. But from what I can say from the experience I've had with these things, the issue about high memory usage, high CPU usage, high bandwidth usage, all those things are very negligible. So it's something that we need to embrace, because if you who have the domain would sign it, then what you are telling the general public is you are giving them authenticated information. And for us as resolvers who are doing validation, we are also in turn passing on that security bit to the end user. So it's a chain of trust. You do it, I validate, and then the user enjoys the benefit. Thank you.
Great. So as you've rightly heard, every challenge can be overcome. So this brings me back to a scenario where our technical, let me say, trainer from ICANN, once said on a call that, there was an organization that they did an implementation for, let me say, they activated their DNSSEC on their systems for them, and, it brought a whole lot of issue. They were like, because they came to validate their system with the DNSSEC, they are having issue with their network and all of that stuff. So they need to go back, take it off, and, the same problem was there. So they were thinking DNSSEC or validation is what brought the problem to their network, but it isn't so. After they took it off, the same problem was there, so they need to now come back that, they thought this was the problem. So every change, can be overcome, or every challenges that we faced, there's always a way to overcome it. So, George, can you give us some trends, some future trends and development in DNSSEC, if maybe share any light on that for us?
Okay, currently the standard is the public key cryptography. So DNSSEC, what it mostly checks is the authenticity and the integrity of data, but it doesn't really encrypt the data in transit. So people can actually see the DNS requests as they move from one point to another. So in future trends, I think it would be advisable to actually encrypt that particular data moving, because what attackers normally do is, after they, as I said earlier, after they get into the system, it's through DNS that they exfiltrate the data. So if that particular part is taken care of, then it will prevent activities such as these.
Yeah, I want to add something too. So you see, in the past, that was the thing. But today, many of us are aware of this shortfall. So we've put in place some measures that take care of those things. For instance, there is a feature known as the queue name minimization, where if you are running a resolver within your jurisdiction, and then you are sending a request to the root servers to query, you just ask them the specific things, not the full URL definition. So the root DNS doesn't know that I'm going to gdnr.org.gh. You just ask the root where .gh can be found, and it will direct you to the name servers that handle .gh. Then you go to .gh, and then the .gh, you give him another bit, you add up more queries to that one, and then he gives you the reply. So there is a hashing process that goes on, so that the user query and then the response cannot be matched. It is only the user who sees the full, full query and then the full response. And then the resolver in the middle just keeps a copy of it for future use.
Okay, thank you, Isaac. Yeah. Emmanuel, do you have anything to say about that? Or we should just...
Yeah, just picking up from where Isaac ended, So if you look at how the technology for digital signatures actually work, am I being heard, please?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so again, if you look at how the cryptographic technology for digital signatures work, it is supposed to be the fact that the validator has that right to reject or abort if verification is not successful. And so you would realize that if the data is altered in the process of transmission, it will not be validated. It will fail for verification, and so that will be aborted, and that means that kind of records is not even going to get to the client side. So yes, there's quite a lot of improvement that have been done so far. If you look at the future, I think now in cybersecurity research, there is a great focus on developing secure signature schemes that will prevent all weak resolver vulnerabilities. Because usually when there is